From the heart of the city too busy to hate. A progressive voice making too much sense for corporate media's comfort. This is The Ron Show, where we the people come first. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
Hello, and thank you for listening, whether it's on Georgia Now, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., 11 p.m. on Progressive Voices via TuneIn, 8 to 10 a.m. the following weekday morning, which, since this is Friday, it's actually for you listening on Monday. Anyway, on Georgia Now as well. Or via podcast on your time, however you wish. I just appreciate that you listen. I want to start, by the way, with the newly released audio that comes with the newly released video of the situation in Minneapolis, Minnesota, just a few days ago, where Rachel Good was gunned down by an ICE agent. Clearly, no training on de-escalation, because there, first of all, really wasn't need for a de-escalation. We had essentially what appears to be a group of lesbian women protesting in the streets of Minneapolis, gumming up traffic. Okay, that's fine. Here's an idea, ICE. Call the Minneapolis Police Department on them and let a Minneapolis police officer show up to handle a simple residential domestic traffic situation. Just an idea. Just putting that out there. I understand that neither the mayor of the city nor the governor of the state really want you there, but despite the fact that you're federal agents, and I use that term loosely for newly recruited, lightly trained dudes, Meal Team 6, Al-Qaeda, who had been signed up in recent months to participate in immigrations and customs enforcement with all those massive sign-on bonuses and good pay that teachers and nurses would never see. Those who went and got their degrees to teach or work in nursing, who can't get student loan forgiveness, can't get sign-on bonuses quite like that. We have money for that for ICE. So anyway, that's my thing. If you want to talk, if you want to make the argument about de-escalation, and hang on, listen, if you're one of those people that you're like, well, you know, Rachel Good deserves some blame. First of all, she's dead, so it's I'm going to somewhat appease that side of the argument, believe it or not. Even later in the show, by the way, I'm going to credit Donald Trump for doing something right. Not in this case, obviously, but I am. I'll get to the okay. So after seeing this video, hearing this audio, there's some reason to believe that there are no clean hands here. Does that make sense? But what I want to tell you is the de-escalation argument goes right out the window when you realize that the complaint that ICE is having about the women in the Honda, the small SUV here, purposely blocking traffic, although they were waving traffic along too. There's that. I guess if you were in a Minnesota plated vehicle, I really don't know what the circumstance was. I just know that ICE was unwelcome in Minneapolis by government, local and state, and by resident, and that where they were focusing their efforts in an immigrant community, there were protesters and activists doing all they could to sort of slow up progress. It happens. I hate to say, that's just how it goes. But if the argument was, first of all, this woman or these women were holding up traffic, and they really weren't. There wasn't a whole lot of traffic to hold up. The argument falls on its face when you speak of de-escalation, when you come to realize that nobody from ICE, by any valid measure that anybody has pointed out, nobody from ICE called Minneapolis PD or 911 to report a traffic problem. No. ICE decided that they were going to handle this on their own with their softly, if at all, trained agents who are obviously not trained in de-escalation because, first of all, the situation didn't call for being de-escalated. It hadn't escalated. It just needed to be calmly and measuredly handled. We know that at least 2 of the 3 ICE agents on this situation had their phones out recording it. Not body cams, but their phones. Like, why? First of all, it should have been body cams, right? So there's that bit of distraction right away. And then there's, well, you know what? I'm just going to play the audio. I want you to listen to what happens. And I apologize for the language. I apologize for what the sound of gunfire is going to do. If it triggers you, I apologize. officer gets out of the vehicle, approaches the Honda, the maroon Honda, walks around the front of the vehicle, and this is Rachel.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
And then she's moving her vehicle to leave.
We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later.
That's Rachel's
That's fine.
girlfriend, I
US
believe.
citizen, former You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car. Whoa!
At that point, she had been shot in the head. The acceleration, you hear people talking, oh, she accelerated. The acceleration comes from the brain-dead body literally stiffening, and the vehicle drove into the utility pole. Now, I might be one of the few left-of-center voices having a conversation about this that will not give a blank check, a blanket pardon to Rachel or her girlfriend or fiance or spouse, I forget which it is, and her friends. Her friends, yeah, okay, sure. The conversation between Rachel's girlfriend or spouse and the other ICE agent, to me, was nothing, much ado about nothing. And even to some extent, you could sit here and say, okay, these are just, women. I don't know if they were all those. They're just a group of women sort of pestering ICE. Just, doing what they... It's kind of like, tourists who go to London to stand before the sentries who aren't supposed to move or speak, right? Just pestering them. And listen, I'm not trying to minimize what they were doing. You heard the whistles going off in the background and all that. That's all a coordinated effort from folks to let those in the immigrant community know that ICE is in the neighborhood. It's what they're doing. And they're within the rights to do that. Free speech, baby. Where I could sit here and say, okay, there is some wrong that comes of this. It's that you heard the ICE agent say, get out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Do they have the right to do that? And what for, honestly? That's a good question. Again, this is where I come back to ICE and I say, did you call Minneapolis police? Because if you didn't, to me, you didn't try to de-escalate a situation. You actually escalated a situation. Your presence alone escalates the situation. But in the matter here, you are complaining, I guess, about a traffic enforcement problem, and you're not in the traffic division of ICE. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as traffic enforcement of DHS or ICE. I would also say that the two officers on the side of the vehicle were smartly distancing themselves from the vehicle, while the third person, the gunman, we know his name now. I'm not going to dox him. You know where it is. You can find that yourself. The third person is actually closing in on the vehicle. He's putting himself in harm's way, I guess, to keep her from going anywhere. And honestly, she had turned her steering wheel all the way to the right to get away from the three ICE agents. He put himself in harm's way. And if she clipped him, and the camera drops, the phone that he's holding dropped. He didn't get hit by the vehicle. He lost his camera phone. He lost his cell phone while shooting at her. And of course, one of the shots through the windshield, the other through the rolled down driver's side window. So he's already out of way when he makes a second shot. That is not, first of all, if you want to stop her from leaving, why didn't you shoot a tire? Why didn't you shoot both tires? You took two shots. Instead, you shot at her. That is the brunt of where this has all gone south for ICE and for Kristi Noem with her near immediate explanation, which was so wildly out of the realm of reality, What did she say exactly? Remember what she said?
It was an act of domestic terrorism.
What?
What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
We know that all of that is absolute bullshit. I mean, everyone agrees now that did not happen. Everyone on all sides of the spectrum. So why did she release a statement? She shouldn't have. Obviously, the president immediately with his response on Truth Social shouldn't have. What did he say? The woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it's hard to believe he is alive. He also said that the guy had gone to the hospital and was reporting on it. Like, none of that was true. It's just like the Wizard of Oz. Pay no mind. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. No, we saw what we saw. What is the Orwell quote from 1984? We saw what we saw. And you can't make us not believe what we actually saw. And yet, you know what? It works on MAGA. It works on all of them inside MAGA. They completely disbelieve what their eyes actually tell them, what their ears and eyes coordinate to show them. And they absolutely only see what they're told to see. It's creepy, man. It's very body snatchers. It's very pluribus. Now I'm going to pivot, and I am going to say, Rachel Good, God rest her soul. And there are vigils all over the country. There's actually one later, or a few later tonight, as a matter of fact. I'll give you that information in a little bit. Because we're right to mourn a senseless death that shouldn't have happened. Okay? And I'm not absolving the victim of her role. But I am saying, from the jump, when we're talking about de-escalation, did ICE call Minneapolis PD to deal with an obvious traffic citation situation? No. They decided to go Billy Bob badass and handle it themselves. Well, now an American citizen's dead. There is, by the way, a vigil. If you're listening Friday, this is happening at 545 Indicator at Charis Books and More on South Candler Street. Also tonight, again, if you're listening Friday, at the Neighborhood Church on McClendon Avenue in Atlanta, starting at 7:30. Protests springing about all this week into the weekend because folks are, and I believe justly, pissed. An unnecessary felling of an American citizen at the hands of someone purporting to be a law enforcement officer, federal or otherwise. This is also unnecessary. And what I will not stomach or stand for is Kristi Noem with her narrative right away, and Donald Trump with his narrative right away, instead of letting the investigations commence with full candor and transparency. Because here's what I also think. MAGA, are you leaning in? Are you listening? Here's what I also think. I also think, unfortunately, Renee put herself in this position by not doing what the officer, the ICE agent, told her to do 3 times. Get out of the car. Just get out of the car. Because at that point, what is the ICE agent going to arrest her for? She's an American citizen. Big whoop. At that point, then what happens? I don't know. Maybe she gets some sort of federal charge of disorderly conduct. Is there such? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Where again, if they just called Minneapolis PD could have come and gotten them out of the streets. No matter what ICE is doing, Minneapolis PD does have to handle a traffic problem if it's a traffic problem. And no city police officer, I don't care what their political ideology is going to say, no, you can just park in the street. I mean, we let DoorDash people do it. We let FedEx do it. God, it annoys the snot out of me if I'm on a busy street in Atlanta. But, some protesting lesbians or women, lesbians among them, no, you got to get your Honda out of the way. I mean, at least do that, ICE. So that sucks. It also sucks that when Renee seemed to realize she was going to be, detained, arrested, or whatever, she decided to flee. And I can tell by the fact that she's turning her wheels to the right. She's looking to get away from the officers who were not in the line of sight of her vehicle, although the one that wound up shooting her was drawing closer to that and put himself in that realm where he could be potentially grazed by the corner of the vehicle because he made that decision himself while drawing in on her with his gun drawn. And why was that? Why was that? Just another calamitous week in the second Trump presidency. Ho-hum, right? Later in the show, in fact, in the second hour, my friend Sterling Thrill, comedian, satirist, political commentary, he and I get together, I don't know, for about 30 minutes or so. We just go off on all kinds of things, and we try and find the humor in the past week. And it's really hard to do that with a young woman, mother of two small kids, a fiance or spouse, I forget, being mourned for a loss that was so unnecessary. And it was unnecessary. But we do have other things to get to today as well. I'll get to, in the next segment, talking about some of the other events and protests and vigils happening in Rachel's commemoration as well. We had a gubernatorial forum here in the state of Georgia, and I really want to dive into that with some audio that we pulled. WJCL television in Savannah televised, I believe the first of its kind, a Democratic gubernatorial forum. They say that they'll do one with the Republican candidates as well. I cannot wait to watch those folks all in the same room. Anyway, the 7 announced, declared so far gubernatorial candidates were all on the same dais, asked a lot of the same questions and individual questions as well. We'll review that. It's The Ron Show on Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. Noelle Heatherland, the statewide organizing manager for Georgia Equality, one of the lead organizers for a vigil tonight taking place at Neighborhood Church in Atlanta, released a statement. Renee Good is certainly not the first person murdered by ICE in the past year, but she is one of the most recent victims. She was a wife, mother, member of the LGBTQ plus community, a poet, and most importantly, a human. We are holding vigils today to grieve, to honor her legacy, and remember all of the names of those who have died at the hands of ICE in 2025 and so far in 2026. We stand with our loved ones in Minneapolis and all those impacted by violence across our state and our nation. We hope that this tragic loss of life will serve as a catalyst for more folks to join in the movement for collective liberation. Again, 7:30 p.m. tonight's vigil in Atlanta at the Neighborhood Church, where they say they will have a memorial altar created by Community Estrella, an organization that supports LGBTQ plus immigrants. Attendees are invited to bring an item that holds personal meaning to them to honor for their own loved ones lost to government-sanctioned violence. Noelle Heatherland's statement says they will hear from Dr. Chrissy Perez of the Dreaming Justice Project, Mildred Pierre, the partner of Rodney Taylor, currently in ICE detention himself, and have the opportunity to grieve, hold space for each other, and strengthen community connections for the journey ahead. Again, that comes from Noelle Heatherland, the statewide organizing manager for Georgia Equality. Again, that vigil will take place at the Neighborhood Church at 1561 McClendon Avenue Northeast in Atlanta at 7:30. I shared that on my Facebook and Instagram accounts. That's at Ron Show ATL. If you're hearing this and have time to do that, you can also, by the way, again, this is all Friday. If you're listening over the weekend or Saturday morning, I apologize. Vigil at Shara's Books and More at South Candler Street in Decatur, starting at 5:45 Friday as well. The thing that I'm struck by is how here we are again in a Trump presidency, mourning an unnecessary loss of life at the hands of law enforcement, where again the president and his acolytes show zero remorse. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just pitted against one another, where again we see things completely differently. It's so bizarre. It just really is bizarre. It's so crazy how easy it is for us all to get manipulated. We're all just left to grieve or mock those that grieve. It's not right when the left does it after Charlie Kirk died. It's not right when the right does it after Renee Good, George Floyd, Heather Heyer die. But again, what is the common thing that ties all of those senseless losses of life to one another? They've all happened in the Trump era. January 6, 2021. Let's throw that in there. That happened in the Trump era. All of these senseless losses of life, these protests, these demonstrations, the violence of January 6th. We had another shooting in Portland last night. Am I understanding that correctly? They all happened in the Trump presidency, the Trump era. The Portland situation, again, a traffic stop. The Department of Homeland Security said the shooting was in self-defense. It's always in self-defense. When the driver the agents had pulled over tried to flee and attempted to hit the agents, we're told. The shooting sent both suspects to the hospital, DHS reported, sparking protests one day after the fatal shooting of a woman in Minneapolis by a federal immigration officer. I'm reading from the USA Today's Natalie Nisa Alund. Both of the shooting victims in Portland, again, we're getting this from DHS. So do you trust it? That's a legitimate question. That's not me wearing a tinfoil hat being a conspiracy theorist. You literally heard minutes ago on this show and for the last few days what Kristi Noem said in the aftermath of the shooting in Minneapolis. It was absolute bonkers pulled out of her rectum. So do you trust what you get from DHS? Luis David Nico Moncada, Yorlenis Betsabeth Zambrano Contreras. DHS said both undocumented immigrants and alleged that both had connections to the Venezuelan gang, don't they all, Trende Aragua. It's The Ron Show, back after this.
This is The Ron Show.
And we air weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on Georgia Now, 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn, the rerun, 8 to 10 a.m. the following weekday. So if you're listening Friday and you're like, I want to hear the whole thing, Monday, 8 to 10 a.m. here on Georgia Now. We had the first televised gubernatorial forum in the 2026 election cycle for the Democratic Party. And I got to say, Jason Estevez came out swinging in some regards. The question that drew that jab was about healthcare. Take a listen to this exchange. By the way, it was televised from WJCL Television in Savannah. So this audio comes to them via YouTube.
Let's talk about healthcare. Yes, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience are looking forward to hearing your response and answers to the healthcare issue in Georgia, because Georgia is one of 10 states that have not elected to fully expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. It's in Georgia's pathways. The coverage was launched in 2023, extending medical coverage to low-income adults, but still has work activity requirements and cost sharing. As chief executive of Georgia, what strategies would you implement to tackle the escalating healthcare crisis in our state? We're going to begin with candidate Jackson all the way down to candidate Roman.
So State Senator Derek Jackson first.
U.S. News just came out and said Georgia's report card for health care is an F. Is an F. It's not because of Trump. It's because the last 24 years under Republican rule, they do not invest in health care here. 13 hospitals closed in rural Georgia. One just closed in Atlanta. 82 counties, you cannot find an OBGYN. 12 counties, you can't find a doctor at all. 67 counties, you can't find a pediatrician. And so what I would do as governor, I would team up with the CDC, Emory, Morehouse School of Medicine, and we would team up with these subject matter experts to find out exactly how we can stop the bleeding. There's no reason why 24 years ago, 12 counties were experiencing more deaths than births. Today, it's 97 counties experiencing more deaths than births. I will stop that, and we will change the trajectory around healthcare. Thank you.
Olu Brown.
So a couple of things about healthcare is personal to me. My mother passed a little bit more than a year ago, and I'm part of what's called the sandwich generation, where I've got young kids and an aging parent, and we're right in the middle. Her healthcare costs were extreme. And as your next governor, I will recognize that we have to do more to protect our seniors in their golden years. As of 8 days ago, for my family, our healthcare premium now is more than our monthly mortgage. So when you talk about healthcare, I take it seriously. We will, of course, extend Medicaid to help all Georgians be healthier. Number two, we will support our rural hospitals. And through the harvest plan that I propose, 20% of the $500 million will go to rural hospitals. And we will also focus on preventive health care. As I work with healthcare providers over the years, they will tell you it is cheaper to keep you healthier than to take care of you when you're sick.
Next up is Mike Thurman.
And I think the question was, how would you fix it? We understand what the problem is. Well, I will do what I've done throughout my political career. I will build a coalition of the willing. Let me tell you something. Having affordable health care is not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's a right thing. Having affordable health care is not an urban or rural thing, it's the right thing to do. And I commit to you that sometimes in order to build a bridge, you got to be a bridge. If you will give me the opportunity to serve as your governor, we will extend Medicaid in Georgia, and we will do it in my first year in office. That's our commitment to the men and women and voters of this state, and we'll do it because we recognize that we're fighting with one hand behind our back. People are dying unnecessarily. People are getting sick unnecessarily, and it's unacceptable, and we'll change the focus.
Candidate, thank you. Please be mindful of time.
Keisha Lance Bottoms.
If I am given the honor of being elected governor of this state, day one priority will be to expand Medicaid in this state. Even before the big ugly bill, there were 300,000 Georgians who did not have health insurance because we did not expand Medicaid, leaving $700 million on the table. What may have been missed in the distractions coming out of Washington, D.C. this week is 1.5 million Georgians have seen their health care premiums increase, almost double, because the ACA subsidies have not been extended. We have to stand in the gap. Expanding Medicaid is not just about those who are recipients. It's about those who need access to hospitals in our rural communities. If you are driving through a rural community and you need access to a hospital, if you are pregnant, you need access to a birthing center, many of which have closed in this state.
Candidate Bottoms, thank you. Candidate Duncan.
Jeff Duncan.
You know, I've literally explored every means possible to improve our healthcare system in Georgia without expanding Medicaid, and the answer is you can't do it. You have to expand Medicaid, and you've got to work with the legislature to do it. I think Republicans are dead wrong on this issue, and they absolutely know they're wrong on this issue, right? This failed thesis that if you don't have health insurance and you show up at the hospital, you just won't get, you won't get sick or you won't go to the hospital. But the reality is you sit in the waiting room and you either decide to deal with it yourselves or you go into that hospital and actually bankrupt yourselves. When I was a state representative, I came up with the rural hospital tax credit. Over the last 7 years, Georgia's raised over $500 million for 54 rural hospitals. As governor, I will double that tax credit from $100 million a year to $200 million a year. This is a huge area of opportunity for us Democrats right now to gain momentum on our side. This is a healthcare crisis like we've never seen coming before. And if we play our cards right in Georgia, we'll not only lead ourselves, but we'll lead the country in improving the healthcare system.
And Jason Estevez now.
Look, as governor, I will expand access to Medicaid, but that's only part of the solution. I'm also going to lower the price of private health insurance. I'm going to expand access to mental health services. I'm going to end our maternal mortality crisis in this state, and I'm going to make sure that we take care of our seniors. But I want to address the elephant in this room.
Here it is.
And that's the fact that we're in a healthcare crisis because of Jeff Duncan and Republicans who for the last 15 years refused to expand Medicaid and then adopted an abortion ban that led to the preventable deaths of black women.
There it is.
We have to reverse the ban and we have to expand access to Medicaid, and I'll do that as governor.
Awkward. He's right next to you. Oh, Rural Roman.
Y'all, we in the richest country on earth should not have the words medical debt and medical bankruptcy. That is not a concept that exists in other places around the world, and yet it exists right here. And when we talk about healthcare, when we talk about healthcare access, yes, you're going to hear all of us talk about expanding Medicaid. The coalition is actually there. Believe it or not, there was a deal on the table in 2023. We almost expanded Medicaid. And do you know why it failed? Because of one person, and it was the governor. So just by flipping the governor's mansion, we can have Medicaid expansion. That's step one.
Yeah.
But step two, I want to invest 10% of our surplus in a first of its kind in the Southeast Cancer Research Center, like other states have done. And they've seen a return of $3 to $10 for every dollar spent on that investment. And what we saw when those states did that is that they saw their cancer rates decrease. They saw better healthcare outcomes, and also they were able to support clinics and hospitals around the state. And we can finally reverse the trend where the majority of counties are experiencing more deaths than births.
There was also the opening question that was asked of the group that I thought was pretty important to ask, especially knowing that they're going to be sworn in with at least 2 years. Oh, God, no, I'm sorry. I don't want to say at least. Only, constitutionally, only 2 years of a Donald Trump presidency and all the baggage that comes with having to deal with that presidency. So they were each asked how they would handle being governor of Georgia with Donald Trump in the White House.
Governing under a Trump administration, what strategies would you employ as governor to navigate the relationship between a blue-led state and the Trump administration? Candidate Romney, we'll begin with you and then go down the line. 1 minute for your answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So what we're seeing right now in our country is a travesty, and it is dangerous for so many people. And I want to be clear, I am not somebody who's ever looked for a fight, but I'll never back down from one. And so that's why if I'm governor, I will use every tool I can at my disposal to protect Georgians. And that includes working with every office in our state, whether that's the Attorney General, to sue when the Trump administration takes away our tax dollars that we already paid to feed hungry kids.
Right.
That includes suing the Trump administration if they bring down the National Guard, because that's what other states have done and have successfully gotten them removed from their states. That includes making sure that every Georgian knows their rights, no matter where they are or where they come from or how little or how much money they have.
Former Senator Estevez is next.
Look, I'll work with anyone across this country who wants to bring good-paying jobs to the state, who wants to ensure that our children are receiving the resources that they need so that they can get the education that they deserve, and who wants to expand access to health care. But I will tell you, I do not like what Donald Trump is doing to this country and is doing to the state. You will never see me stay silent while Donald Trump hurts Georgians all across this state. Brian Kemp's silence has not helped farmers who have been impacted by Hurricane Helene, has not helped our public health system and our CDC workers, has not helped cities whose grants have been pulled. I will always stand up and fight back against Donald Trump, not only by speaking out, but also making sure that we use every tool in our toolbox. I'm going to sue the hell out of them to protect us. And I will also make sure that we use all the legislative tools that we need to ensure that Georgians are protected from the chaos and destruction that's coming out of Washington, D.C.
Next up is Jeff Duncan.
Hopefully there's no doubt in this room that I'm willing and able to stand up to Donald Trump.
That's a given.
I spent this week in Washington, D.C. speaking at the January 6th committee because telling the truth still matters.
It's true.
Donald Trump is a disaster. He's toxic. He's created a culture of violence. We've watched it play out in these ICE raids. But we've got to have honest umpires as a governor. We've got to be willing to stand up to a bully. We talk about the problems that we have in the state, the affordability crisis. These are Donald Trump's issues. He cares more about stealing oil from Venezuela than he does about tackling the issues of somebody walking into that grocery store down the street and can't even afford to buy all their groceries or can't even afford to pay for rent. We talk about health care. Everybody sitting in this room is in the midst of a health care crisis. We need a governor who's willing to stand up and be bold. I've talked about having a $1.7 billion rainy day. We have a $17 billion rainy day fund. Let's take 10% of that, $1.7 billion, and help people that need that one jump start out, that lower cost for housing, that child care help. We can do better than Donald Trump, and we will do it here in Georgia.
This is Keisha Lance Bottom's finest moment last night, I believe. Just my opinion.
I don't have to dream about fighting against Donald Trump. I've already done it and won. When I led the capital city of this state, when the Trump administration would not allow officers to wear body cam cameras when they were assigned to federal task force, I made the decision to remove our officers. It then resulted in the Trump administration changing their policy across this country. When ICE could not give us assurances that we would not be complicit in the family separation policy, I made the decision to close our jail to ICE. Cities across this country followed. That means, as governor, I will continue to stand up to Donald Trump to the extent that we can pick up the phone and have a reasonable conversation or a meeting that will help on behalf of Georgia. I'm willing to do that. But when we have to fight back, I will lead the charge.
Strong applause for that.
I will fight Donald Trump, but know this. Just because people fight against Donald Trump doesn't mean that they are fighting for you.
Mike Thurman.
I will fight for you. As CEO of DeKalb County during the pandemic with Trump in office, we created a partnership with farmers in South Georgia and once a month fed 5,000 hungry families for 4 straight years. As the superintendent of DeKalb County Schools with a Republican governor, We've saved our accreditation, increased graduation rates and test scores. As the DFACS director, when they tried to take away benefits from hungry families, we created a system that helped welfare-dependent families, 90,000 families, get back to work. Yes, I'll fight for Trump, but more importantly, will fight for you, because that is the most important question we face. Not who you're fighting against.
Thank you so much, sir.
Who are you fighting for?
Olu Brown.
Well, my experience has been with community and people. There's no way in the world that you build one of the largest congregations in our state without working with diversity. And often people who are very mean, people who struggle with isms, and people who have great differences. But I was always able to find common ground. So what will I do with Donald Trump? I will work with Donald Trump in Washington where I can, but I work for Georgia, and I will always work for each and every one of you. As a builder, I will build a firewall that protects us from Donald Trump, his antics, and his chaos. When he brings chaos, I'll bring calmness, because my job as the CEO of this state is to protect every Georgian.
And
yes, I will also fight against Donald Trump.
Derek Jackson.
But I will continue to do the things that I have been doing the last 10 years, and that's fight against these Republicans. Donald Trump is not the reason why Georgia is experiencing a minimum wage of $5.15 the last 24 years. Donald Trump is not the reason why we have 82 counties that you cannot find an OBGYN. Donald Trump is not the reason why we have 67 counties you cannot find a pediatrician. We have to continue to fight. Yes, fight against those in Washington, D.C., but also fight against those who are right here in Georgia. I will stand up for families. I will stand up for our constitutional rights, and I will make sure that our service members, those brave men and women, will not get misused and abused like they are by Governor Kemp right now. They will not be sent to another city in another state. And we're paying $1.4 million per day. That's the misuse of our military members. I will fight against everyone that's going to have a negative impact against our families. Thank you.
So come back and I'll give you just a few more minutes of highlights from that event. And second hour of the Ron Show today, comedian, satirist, political commentator Sterling Thrill joins the Ron Show to try and find some laughs in what has been a pretty tough week. It's the Ron Show in Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn. More from last night's Gubernatorial Forum held in Savannah. WJCL Television in Savannah televising that. Here's the poignant question of the moment.
According to Realtor.com, the median listing of a home price here in Savannah, Georgia, $399,000. Average rent for an apartment, $1,800. For many young people in Georgia watching us right now throughout the coastal Georgia and the Congressional 1st District, those prices and those costs simply not affordable. How do you plan to address the escalating cost of affordability, rising costs as a future governor of Georgia?
First, Olu Brown.
Well, over the last year, I've had an opportunity to come here to coastal Georgia quite often, even to the mountains north of us. And housing and home ownership is a major issue. What we're discovering is a lack of affordability for first-time homeowners. And so we will cut through the red tape and make more housing available for first-time homeowners. We'll also take a look at retail spaces that are defunct and malls that are no longer operating. And we will bring together builders across this state to develop single housing developments for nurses, people in the academic world, and make sure that they can afford their houses. We'll also create a $15,000 home down payment advance for teachers, not only to live in the communities where they work, but also to build in the communities where they work and where they live.
Michael Thurman.
During the pandemic, I set up a program where we distributed $55 million in rental subsidies to renters in DeKalb County. We established a Home South DeKalb, a fund of $20 million that has allowed scores of DeKalb County residents to purchase homes. When I become your next governor, on day one, I will issue an executive order and transform our Department of Community Affairs so that our local leaders, Mayor Johnson and others, are not working alone to create affordability in our communities. Look, this is a critical moment in the history of our state. It's not about promises, it's about performance. I will get the job done. We will change and fundamentally shift how people afford to keep a roof over their head. Renters and homeowners. I know we can do it because I've done it before.
Keisha Lance Bottoms.
There was a study done by Georgia Tech that showed there was a shortage of 41,000 homes in coastal Georgia. There are things that we can do immediately to address that. One being helping invest in infrastructure in this area, making it easier for people to build in this area, making it easier for people to access grants. When I had the opportunity to lead our capital city, I created an affordable housing trust fund so that people who do live in their homes can avoid rising property taxes. Also, we can make it easier by helping people to clear titles. If you inherited a home from your parents or your grandparents and you don't have clear title, it is impossible for you to refinance that home and often access grants that are available.
Jeff Duncan.
I talked about for a minute that my political switch, I found my heart. And this is one of these issues. Right? Everybody in here is involved in a crisis for your housing, right? Whether you live in a house, trying to afford a house, trying to find an apartment. But the people that I'm most heartbroken about are the working homeless. There are literally people working 2 and 3 jobs. In Atlanta, I heard a story last week about women and men having to take baths in the public restrooms at the airport because they're working so many jobs and because they're working homeless. We've got to use the $17 billion that we have in the state's rainy day fund. We've got to use some of those to drive down costs. But we also have to be creative. Savannah alone, I was down here a few weeks ago and had the honor of touring the Dundee cottages. It was an amazing, everybody in this community, in this center should be watching this community work. We should work with Mayor Dickens has got an incredibly creative housing programs. We've got to be creative, but we also have to pay attention at the state's perspective. As governor, this will be an area of opportunity for us to actually lead the country.
As lieutenant governor, he could have raised the minimum wage and helped with that. But
look, housing is a problem all over the state, whether you want to buy a home, rent a home, or downsize your home for our seniors. As governor, I'm going to do what should have happened a long time ago, and I'm going to stop private equity funds from buying up all of our single-family homes.
Yes.
I'm also going to make sure that we work with city and county officials to cut the red tape and make it cheaper and more time efficient to build homes. I also want to get creative by increasing our affordable housing fund throughout the state so that we're building more affordable housing. We need housing of all kinds, the micro affordable housing for those who are homeless, but also family homes, homes for those who are middle income and higher income. At the end of the day, what we need is leadership. That's what we're lacking down at the state capitol. Someone who is focused each and every day that they're in office on making life more affordable for the hardworking people of this state. And I'll do that when I'm governor.
You shouldn't have to get lucky to be able to buy a home. But that is the reality for way too many families here. And if I'm elected governor, I will use every tool at my disposal to take homes back from corporate landlords. There's a reason this is a key plank of our platform. Because without housing, so much ends up falling off the rails. You can't get to your job because you're trying to figure out where your next meal is going to come from. You can't get to your job because you don't have a home to be in. You can't get mail. There's so much disruption that happens. And so as governor, I want to take away the tax breaks that these corporate landlords get. I want to increase tenant protection so that way they can't just keep exploiting Georgians. And last but not least, when we talk about cutting red tape, we need to cut red tape for cities that are currently not even allowed to track where these homes are being bought up in their own cities. And so it's important to be specific about why that crisis happens, because you can increase supply, but if there is this venture capitalist corporation coming in and buying up all that supply, then you're just frankly right back at square one.
Derek Jackson.
Listen, I'm not here to offer empty promises. I'm here to offer opportunity and hope. The last 10 years under that gold dome, I continue to introduce legislation to help deal with affordability and increase minimum wage.
That part.
For example, when you look at House District 68, where I am, we witnessed a $2 billion increase of economic development projects in the last 10 years, $400 million in infrastructure, and 30,000 jobs. With that came all various types of housing. We made sure that we have a homestead exemption to make sure our seniors are not taxed out of their home. We also made sure that there was availability for those young professionals who are not married, yet to have children.
I don't remember them.
We want to make sure that they have something too. And then last but not least, we're sitting on a $14.8 billion surplus. I will carve out another $1 billion to assist those. Now you got to apply, it's not automatic, to assist those who desire to have a house.
I'll provide those highlights from the WJCL broadcast in the show notes at ronshowatl.com. So Ron Show, 4 to 6 p.m. weekdays on Georgia Now, 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Another hour to come.
From the heart of the city too busy to hate. A progressive voice making too much sense for corporate media's comfort. This is The Ron Show, where we the people come first. Here's your host, Ron Roberts.
All right, so why not wind down the show with trying to find some laughter? It's, honest to God, been a pretty tough week for that, trying to find the lighter side of things. But my Friday segments that I like to have now, we've added this to the show, just trying to bring some smiles to our faces, even in moments of darkness like we've experienced the last few days, with my friend, comedian Sterling Thrill. Sterling, how are you, man?
Man, I'm well, I'm gonna say I'm great, but I'm good. Ron, how are you, brother?
I'm good. I got my health. My sanity, I don't know about, but my health is,
man.
it's here we are. We're in the South. You live in South Carolina. I live in Georgia, and it's like Minnesota has suddenly become the epicenter of what could be again something calamitous. George Floyd obviously lost his life blocks from where Renee Gold lost her life at the hands of ICE agents in what, for anyone outside the MAGA bubble, appears to be overreach by someone not qualified to tackle a situation like that. Like, how is it that two of the three agents are able to get out of the way of a moving car that's turning away from them, but this guy starts walking towards it and then wants to claim that, he was a potential victim of it and, oh, by the way, shot her in the face. I don't know, I'm just stunned by it.
Yeah, no, it's stunning. And you were like, oh, we're going to find some humor. And I was like, oh, who's going to help us find that?
Yeah, that's not easy. Well, I mean,
who's that going to be? Because, it's hard, man. I agree with you. It's dumb. He didn't have too much problem getting out of the way and pulling his firearm. He was able to do both those things.
Right.
So I don't know that he was ever in a lot of danger since he was able to, not get run over easily and also shoot the victim in the face.
Well, but not just in the face from apparently the corner of the car, but then in through the driver's side door window. He was also shooting. Yeah, he shot 3 times, I believe. I believe there were 3 shots. Yeah. It's like, what was the second and third shot for? If you were already out of the way.
Yeah.
That's not trying to disable the vehicle. That's trying to disable a human being. But
the human being. Yeah, absolutely.
What cracked me up though was like, we're talking minutes after this all happened. Kristi Noem, Homeland Security guru and Isanista, cosplay Barbie. She's out there in front of her camouflage podium with her large cowboy hat, looking all tough and surly. She's already decided what's happened. And by the way, didn't have any of it right. Something about the ICE vehicle was stuck in the snow and they were trying to push it out when this woman attacked them. And it's like, you didn't even see the video then, apparently. Like, there's several videos now, but you didn't even see the one video.
Yeah, it's insane, Ron. I mean, you talked about sanity. It's insane, man. None of this makes sense. None of this makes any, we're just letting the stupid Nazis run the country. And also, not even smart ones. They really are stupid. And it's just, don't believe what your eyes can see, and that's what they're telling us. And Kristi Noem, I can't stand the psycho. I mean, the psycho that murdered her dog, put the dog down, because she had to. I mean, we're letting that psycho be in charge of, of deportations. We're letting that person be in charge of anything. I wouldn't put her in charge of a Taco Bell. I wouldn't let Kristi Noem run a Waffle House, let alone and everything about these people are fake, especially these MAGA makeovers. Everything about her is fake. And it's just, but it's evil. It's like behind it is just evil. It's like she's Vecna underneath all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can have ideological differences with people and not think of them as evil. I didn't think that Mitt Romney was evil, although I did question him putting his dog on top of the station wagon for the drive. It's not, it's not Kristi Noem though. I mean, he let the dog live. But I didn't think Mitt Romney was. I didn't think John McCain was evil. I didn't think.
Discourse, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can be disconnected. You can be ignorant to the plight of the marginalized, but not necessarily be evil. Just there's just a different level of almost comic book villainy that we're facing now.
1,000%. You said it is very much comic book villainy. So villainy. I have a friend of mine, and we were just talking recently, And he's hitting me with all these points. In my brain, everyone that I talk to would think the same thing, but that's not the case. And he was making these points that are just very much like a comic book. I was like, hey, listen, just because Trump maybe took down a bad guy in Venezuela, it just like that part in the movie when the villain takes out another villain. It doesn't excuse the villain. And then he starts bringing up Thanos, and some people were pro Thanos. They were like, well, Thanos is right. The term of Thanos is right has left the MCU and has entered society. You see that in little pockets. People were saying that he was, some sort of model. He did the hard thing that no one would do. That's the kind of brute.
That is,
and,
that's a lot of the lingo coming out of the whole Venezuela conversation. And it's like, forget international law or that, we've set this precedent since World War I that big countries don't invade small countries or depose their dictator. Yeah. I mean, that's, forget the rule of law, forget the optics of it, forget that, we're basically saying, well, if Trump can do that to Venezuela, then why have we been pushing back against Putin doing that to Ukraine?
Yeah. I mean, Ron, you asking a question. That's a mic drop question. I mean, exactly. Why have we? It's crazy. They're comic book villains. And the problem with it, I saw this online a while back, is that every billionaire, no billionaire is going to be Batman. All the billionaires are Lex Luthor. All the billionaires are Lex Luthor.
I think a lot of them are feckless in some cases. I mean, we saw a lot of the, the social media guys caving. The Google guy caved, and the Meta guy caved. And you start to see what's the guy that owns the Dallas Mavericks? Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban's been a little bit more vocal and anti-Trump, but. I mean, he ain't running for office, and I don't want a billionaire to run for office.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. It does seem like that, right? Well, I don't know. George Soros. George Soros is so evil. I'm still waiting on my check from him. I'm really mad because I've been told I've been getting paid by him, and I ain't got a dime yet. I've checked my change of address. It's fine. The mail's getting here. Where's my money, George?
Post office has your info.
Right. Exactly. Where's my money, man?
Come on, George. Yeah, exactly. So but I mean a lot of them. That's the thing, man. They're not fighting. I can't believe that we have an evil toddler in office, and everyone's just like, yeah, we gotta do what they say. Have you ever been around, Ron? You ever been around somebody like a parents that have a kid and the kid is in charge, and they're all like, we have to be careful because Johnny wants the quiet time, or Johnny wants to yell and hit us now. That's okay because Johnny has to express. That's what I feel like we're doing.
Yeah.
With Trump, we're just letting this thing happen, and it's not just happening. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. We're letting this man be evil and murder our neighbors and take our neighbors away.
Oh, but I think honestly, this is another one of those situations where he is almost the victim, like someone who just got imbibed with talk radio and Fox News for 2 and 3 decades and buys into the BS. I think he's surrounded by evil, and he plays up to it. Like he wants their applause, so he gins up his meanness because he's surrounded. Stephen Miller didn't become Stephen Miller because of his association with Donald Trump. That dude, it's in his DNA. I mean, that's sneering and jeering and talking about how, might and power always win the day. Like, that's not how Dr. King used to talk about it.
Right.
I mean, they're not even hiding it anymore.
No, they're not hiding it anymore. The thing about Stephen Miller is that he would be a great Klan member, but he can't get the point to stay up because his head's so just round and curved to the side, Yeah. So he has to come out and he has to just be.
I can't believe his wife let him get her pregnant. They're expecting again.
Expecting what?
Right?
Expecting the pool boys baby or something? Like, I don't know what that is. I'm sorry for her, man.
Or something reptilian. I don't know. I mean, you remember that TV show V? Like, there's got to be something underneath that skin that is scaly because.
Oh gosh, if you're not an attractive person, also don't be mean. Like you can do one or the other. Like if you're ugly, man,
why do you think I'm so
kind.
nice? Yeah, why are we so nice and we're so funny? Because we have to make up for our shortcomings elsewhere.
Yeah, you can't look bad and have a bad attitude. You can't look bad and be evil, man. Come on, dude.
Right, exactly. Well, exactly. It just fits right to the comic book villain portfolio. You can't be mean and ugly.
Yeah, you got to pick one, bro. It's a monster otherwise. It's just so much stuff, man. In Minnesota, dude, I just saw Jesse the Body Ventura, former governor of Minnesota, calling this a regime and a dictatorship. And he says it's a third world country now. He's like, I've been to third world countries. I was there when I forgot what story he told, but he was overseas. He's like, when the draft dodger wasn't over there. I was over there when I saw gosh, I forgot which country it was. So in the Philippines, when someone took over, I can't remember, but I was like, man, when Jesse the Body Ventura is, no pun intended, slamming, Trump and everything, I was like, oh gosh, okay.
Well, but it's that we don't seem to have enough of those white male masculine demeanored voices speaking to that bubble, and it's encouraging. But I mean, it's like 15 years too late. Jesse Ventura, he ain't Joe Rogan. Although I will say, I don't know if you keep up with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has sort of turned on Donald Trump and likes to mock his nuttiness and lunacy and senility as well.
You talking about too late?
Yeah, right.
That's your too late. Oh my gosh, this guy. When I saw Trump go on Theo Von's podcast, I was like, oh wow, that's wild. It was during the last campaign. I was like, that's insane.
Well, have you interacted with Theo in comedy circles? Like, have you ever met him or had the chance?
No, I haven't. I've got definitely friends that have. I have a friend of mine who's, I guess she's not. I mean, she's a woman of color. She's, I don't know. I think she's probably left leaning, but maybe has some conservative values. But she loves him and she's open for him plenty of times. But other than that, no, I not had a lot of crossover.
I just never got the. It never came across to me that Theo Von was an intellect. Let's just put it that way. I saw him when he came out on reality TV back in the day. Wasn't a smart dude. Doesn't pretend to be a smart dude. Neither does Joe Rogan, for that matter. Doesn't pretend to be a smart dude. He doesn't deny when he gets fact checked on his own show for something stupid that he says. Although the something stupid he says makes its way around the world before the fact check gets out.
Before the fact does,
But like Theo Von had Senator Bernie Sanders on even. So it's not that I think Theo is like baked in MAGA or anything like that. I just happen to think like he's a dumb dude with a big platform. And that platform can be used for good or evil, and he doesn't really push back when it's used for evil.
Yeah, I think I listened to Theo Von for a while, and I had to stop listening because, one, I think he's funny. I think he's brilliant.
He is funny, absolutely. Really smart.
But I think that he has some. So I like making fun of racial stereotypes to the degree of like how we already think things. So I like talking about our internal biases. I don't like making racist jokes, and there's a distinction there, right?
Yes.
So you don't want to punch down. You don't want to say something that's racist or classist, but making fun of our perceptions of stereotypes is really putting a light on what we do. And I like to do that. And so some of what Theo does is multi-layered, and it's like, oh, this is shining a light on how we would think. But the problem is, I'm listening to it more and more. I'm like, oh, if you do that too much, you just become the thing you are kind of mocking. You just become the thing. So he says all these stuff that's racist that supposedly is somewhat funny, but it makes me think, I'm like, oh no, Theo probably got a little racism in there. Like that's more so than a little bit.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch it because I didn't listen to it because I didn't like it. And is he brilliant or no? Is he dumb? I don't know. I know that he plays a character. He often he does something. I would say 90% of his guests, they don't understand that he's doing bits the whole time, and everything he says is just to get a reaction. And sometimes they just take it straight forward for face value.
Okay,
and only a few of them are wise and hip enough to see what's happening. But I would say 90% don't. Now Rogan, I didn't listen to that much. I liked his comedy back in the day. Rogan's a little different. I think Rogan like the thing he's telling you, he believes. He's not always trying to do bits. He's telling you genuinely what he thinks is right. Now he happens to think a bunch of BS, and he happens to sell it really well because he's just like a great communicator. He talks in a way that this is the person that you want telling you that you're going to make it, that you're going to live or something. He has that kind of thing, but he I don't agree with his conclusions. You know what I mean? I don't agree with the wild stuff he says, and he'll say something crazy, and then he says it like it's fact, and like you said, it'll go around the world before it's fact check, and that's the danger of media without checks and balances, and that's where we are.
And that people are going to Joe Rogan for their news. That's a problem. Anyway, hang tight. I'm on with my buddy, comedian, political satirist, commentator galore, Sterling Thrill at sterlingthrill.com, by the way. He's on The Ron Show. It's Georgia Now. Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast. Hopefully we'll find something we can laugh about from this past week on The Ron Show when we return. Back for more biting commentary from yours truly and my friend, comedian, political commentator, satirist, if you will, Sterling Thrill. I feel like we have the problem of everybody going to their preferred media sources and hearing or seeing what they think they hear and see. But it just is mystifying the way this whole Minnesota thing is played out with the shooting. But, another Minnesota story that comes to mind was one that really wasn't on my radar. Like, I didn't know the whole situation with the Minnesota fraud thing because it really just wasn't on my radar. So right. I dug in on it, and come to find out, this is the stuff that MAGA doesn't decide to do. They hear the initial stuff, outraged by it, rage bait, and that's that. They're baked in. They didn't want to look to see that there were arrests made on this in 2022 back when Biden was president. Right. That was his Department of Justice that actually put a white woman, by the way, in jail, in prison for this, and that it's been investigated even back to 2019, which means it was going on while Trump was president before. Like, those pesky details are just inconvenient. Yeah. But that's what I do. I want to find out beyond what is all this rage bait that I'm seeing? Let me dig in on it. And I realize that's not what everybody wants to do. Not everybody does a podcast 5 days a week. But at the bare minimum, if something enrages you and you go, how did they get away with this? Can't be. If you have questions, not just rage questions like, how did we let this happen? Find out, how did we let this happen? Or what's the story on it?
No, 1,000%. I mean, just do a little research. But I mean, it's funny, Ron. It sounds like, now I don't know if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like when MAGA keeps bringing up these weird things and not talking about the things that are important, you think they're trying to distract us from anything? Is there anything happening that we shouldn't know about?
Well, I mean, listen, here we are. Well, we're 16 minutes into our conversation, and we haven't talked about the Epstein files because it's so fallen off the political radar. And yet what hasn't fallen off are Trump's names on the flight logs. Those are still, that's still a thing.
They still on there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's the thing, that his idea, man, it just doubles down, and that's what Jesse Body Ventura said too, that you just double down, and when you do something horrible, you do something else horrible. There was another shooting in Portland, right? I don't get all the details on that one by ICE.
Yeah, I saw that recently too. We've got another shooting to deal with in Portland, or it's
by a government agency,
right? I want to know, where are the people who were telling us that they needed to have their AK-47s, that they needed to have their assault rifles, so that when big government starts coming at us, they were. I mean, where you at, Bubba? Where you at?
The Second Amendment isn't just the right to bear arms. The right to bear arms to form militia.
Right. Where is MEAL Team 6?
Militias?
Yeah. Where's MEAL Team 6? Where's Al Qaeda? I need you, brothers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. They're not that, because they've been sold these lies. And when I see military or veterans or police officers buy into this MAGA stuff,
it's scary.
I'm like, you are supposed to defend against that. You are on the wrong side. Why do you not see this? How do you not see it? And that's
when the rare opportunity comes up where it's like a Senator Mark Kelly, a former naval officer and astronaut, when he does say it, he gets censured for saying to other folks still in the service, you don't have to follow illegal orders.
Unlawful orders, yeah. And he gets death threats by the friggin' president of the United States. Yeah. Dude, get out of here, man.
Yeah, just got censured for it. Like they're going to trigger his retirement. I don't, there's no reward for doing what you're supposed to do when MAGA tells us, well, this is why we have our guns, so that we can do that. The hypocrisy just kills me. Oh, by the way, we may have accidentally pardoned the pipe bomber that they arrested from January 6th.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Because Trump blatant pardoned all of the thugs and goons from January 6th.
Man, to see those videos, and there's so many times, Ron, there are so many times in the existence of Trump. There's so many times where this should have been the last straw. This should have been it. But this should have been it. Happened a billion times. I did not understand how all these back to blue, all these thin blue line, all these police first and all these things, how all these people and police officers themselves saw January 6th and still supported Trump. These are real police officers doing their friggin' jobs, and they're getting beaten. And four of them, or 4 or 5, I think, lost their lives due to complications from what happened that day. One of them died in the hospital from injuries, and a few more from long-term injuries, and some from unaliving themselves due to stress from that thing and PTSD and stuff. And we're causing actual harm to police officers on January 6th. Not we, but I mean, the mobs were. And then they pardoned the mobs. And then how do you think that's a president that's for you if you're a cop? How do you think he backs the blue?
Well, that always confounds me. It confounds me when you see polls where he's got law enforcement support, or the GOP in general has military, active duty, veteran support, when they're led by a man who calls them suckers and losers, who prefers prisoners of wars who don't get caught. All because, we got a raise, or we're spending $1.5 trillion in the military now because it justifies our existence to bomb Venezuela overnight to get one dude. Anyway, there's still some more meat on that bone, so if you'll hang tight, we'll take a quick break and come on back. We are going over the week that was with Sterling Thrill on The Ron Show. It's Georgia Now, Progressive Voices via TuneIn or wherever you podcast.
Broadcasting 5 days a week to make common sense common again. This is The Ron Show.
And quickly to speak up my favorite segment of the week, when I get to catch up with my old friend Sterling Thrill to try and find the humor in what has been a rough slog in the first year of the Trump presidency, right? I mean, we've got to find like these little moments of, okay, I'm doing this for me, if for no one else, but you get to listen in. Am I making any sense here, Sterling?
I mean, we're just saying the same thing. We're ping-ponging this back and forth. We're just like, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. I mean, that it is. Everything is just nuts. And I don't know what to do, man. I don't, if I had superpowers, that's what I feel like. If I had superpowers, I don't know the way out. I don't know the Andy Dufresne, how to get through that poop tunnel, how to come out into the rain. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what it's going to take. I know that hopefully we'll win the midterms, but then what? I don't know, man.
Well, what we have to do is what little bit that we can. I do my show 5 days a week. There's a weekend version that airs on Progressive Voice. I do my thing, and then I for my own sanity's sake, I have to unplug on the days that I can unplug. Like on the weekends, it's like, okay, I'm just going to be the realtor, and I have to balance all that during the week too. But on the weekends, for sure, I'm just the realtor. And if I'm not going out showing houses, I'm just sitting at home watching football with my cat on my lap, because it's the thing that just kind of tethers, detaches me from the matrix.
Yeah, I have to do the same thing. I make content and I sell events and I do stand up and stuff. And so I did a series this year called The Crash Out Will Be Televised, and that's kind of what got your attention. It got a lot of people. I got to be guests on different things. But just where I just was crashing out on how this was insane what's happening and that we are supporting these things or whatever. But I realized in that it's not super helpful because people just think what they think. I don't know how to change a mind other than like to change a heart first, administer to someone's needs, those kind of things. Let's, help someone to see themselves in someone else's plight. Like minister whatever one needs. Even billionaires need something, right?
Yeah,
so I don't know.
For me, the atheist, I'm always the one that had these spiritual advisors on my show, these faith leaders and whatnot, who are more on the left progressive side of things. I had one earlier this week, and I reached out to the guy from Vinings Lake Church here in Atlanta. Cody Deese is his name, and it's like I'm the atheist, but I'm sitting here listening to these people, and I'm like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Like I need the white evangelical MAGA Jesus believer to, I don't know, stop and pay attention to what Jesus was saying, because I feel like you're missing out on something, a lot of something actually in that messaging.
What's crazy to me, Ron, is like, man, I am from the world, bro. Like I became a Christ follower. I'm a person of faith, right? I became a Christ follower, and like I wouldn't do this life if I didn't think it was the right thing. Like, bro, I wouldn't be married in a committed relationship and, all that stuff. Like I'd be in them streets, bro. Like I would not be, trying to, like I'd be a lot more about me. And what I don't understand about that is what is the benefit of being a Christ follower if you're not seeing Christ in other people and in yourselves, and seeing the benefits of like loving your neighbor and loving God with everything, and asking for discernment, receiving discernment, asking for these things? Because the Bible's full of times where people thought they were righteous by God and they weren't. And those people did evil things. The Bible, I mean, it just tells you that story time and time and time and time again. And for you to not see that you are that thing that the Bible's talking about, like that's you. Like, I wouldn't do this. I would not do this life if I didn't believe it. So I don't understand the value in it, because like, what would you just want to have a social club? Like, you just want to have something to do every Sunday? You want to have a routine? Like, you want to...
Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? Or just to bolster your identity.
Right. And then ultimately for control, once you get into certain levels, it's control. You know what I mean? And the man's the head of the household. And so, you know, there's control and stuff like that. And so when you don't, have a better understanding of Scripture, yeah, man. So it's control, it's identity, it's these things, but like none of that sounds interesting to me at all. I wouldn't. To be a Christ follower is basically like realizing that you're terrible. Like you doing wrong all the time. Like you are, like your heart is filthy. If you're a Christ follower, and it just shines a light on you. You know what I mean? Like you should see how bad. Like I realize now I'm terrible. Now I'm not. I don't think about it all day long. But let's
apply that metric to what we're seeing now from political leaders on the right. Instead of accepting themselves as flawed I hesitate to use the word wrong, but like in MAGA culture, in right-wing nomenclature anyway, we don't apologize for nothing. We're Americans. That I use that term sometimes in a mocking, or we're American, but that is we're American. Yeah. But that is very much at the heart of what they believe. We're not wrong. We're not flawed. We can't look back at our history on race, because that would be to admit that, we're a flawed country or built on our DNA is baked in with racism. We don't want to look at the 58 now military incursions in Central and South America that have an impact on destabilizing the environment, the economy, the political structures of those countries, and why that creates havoc at our southern border, why it sends people here. We can't do any of that. We can never admit that we're wrong. And yet, at the same time, you want to tell me that you're showing up to church every Sunday and that you guys are God-fearing, pro-life, blah, blah, blah. It never squares for me outside of that bubble.
Gosh. Yeah. And then, like, and then, I don't know if I saw a statistic. Maybe it's BS. I shouldn't say it if I fact check it. But, like, a lot of those, like, OnlyFans account subscribers and stuff for people in the church and things like that. You see all these.
Every time there's a Talking Point USA summit, Grindr says that their usage jumps. Republican conventions, Grindr usage jumps.
Oh my gosh! You know what I mean?
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
My thing is, it's the same thing as like when I told you a while back. I got a friend of mine, and I kind of kicked him out of the closet. Well, he's a she now, but at the time he was male.
Damn!
And
I mean, you kicked him into the next closet.
Yeah, I kicked the sorry. Exactly,
I'm sorry,
exactly.
Her into the next closet. Yeah.
But what happened was,
I can say that because I'm gay, by the way. So I'm gonna
can say it.
I'm gonna hit my Rainbow Mafia card.
Well, I probably will step on some toes, so you just tell me when I'm wrong. But like, so like he just wasn't himself, and it was getting on my nerves.
Clearly.
And I was like, just be you. But he grew up in the South, and his parents would tell him, like, call him names like, the F word, things like that, and it just wasn't accepted. And he just, and I was just like, just friggin', just be you. Cause I can't stand, I have a little autism streak there. I can't stand ingenuine. I can't stand something ingenuine. Just be who you are. Just be what it is, But I understand, protection and you shouldn't force someone to be who they are. But my frustration was, we were living together, and I'm just like, you can't fool me. Stop trying. Anyway, so, and he, I didn't know at the time. I just knew I was frustrated that my best friend was being, not himself, not herself now. So
it's so crazy too that here we are in this era where we see we already had the Caitlyn Jenner, the trans now Republican, but honestly doesn't see herself as marginalized, though she is. and behind closed doors and behind her back is marginalized within the party that she adheres. Now Nicki Minaj, who ain't even a U.S. citizen, who honestly, I'm kind of thinking she may have overstayed her visa too, but she's okay because she's at the Talking Point USA Summit.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about Nikki not being a U.S. citizen.
She's not. She's from Trinidad.
But, never got U.S. citizenship?
Mm-mm.
I also heard something about she had a fiance or something that's facing some charges.
I was going to say, I think this could be a play for more pardoning, and Donald Trump's good at pardoning people, good, bad people, of course, but he's good at that. So there may be a little buttering up going on there. That's the other thing. Like, it's so we go back to the whole comic book villainy stuff. Like, it's so transparent. Like when
transparent.
Transactional. Transactional. Yeah. Speaking of trans, let's make those sort of things illegal. It's so transactional. Like when he gets campaign donations for people, and you're going to be pardoned. The ex-Honduras guy who pumped in millions, like tons of millions of tons of cocaine into this country, and we're going to let him go. But Maduro, it's about his drug trade. Listen, I'm not defending Maduro. I'm not. But I'm also not about using the military to extract a nation's leader. We used to do things, under cloak of CIA and stuff like that to make things change in other countries when necessary. And I don't believe in any of that either because we keep meddling in things and not making them better. We never make things better in another country.
Yeah, we should definitely not meddle in other people's business.
We can't even take care of this country. Look at us now. Like we're going to meddle in the affairs of other countries. We're going to try and spread democracy around the world. We don't have democracy here.
Bam. There you go. Another mic drop moment from Ron Roberts, everybody. Yeah, no, that's 100% right, though, man. When they said that we're going to run Venezuela, I'm like, we can't run the U.S. What do you mean we're going to run Venezuela? You mean into the ground?
Yeah, I feel like an abandoned kid. Like, wait a minute. I didn't want you to adopt me, but you adopted me. And so now you're supposed to be my daddy, but you're going to go take care of that other family over there. You ain't even taking care of us.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or how about there's this argument about the War Powers Act, and he should have gone to the Gang of Eight in Congress to the senators, the Gang of Eight senators to get their blessing on bombing Venezuela. And he the story out of the White House is, if you go to Congress, it's almost certainly that there will be leaks before we pull this off. And so George Stephanopoulos was talking to somebody on not Meet the Press, but ABC last Sunday, and said the Gang of Eight's really good about that. There's been no leaks from the Gang of Eight. So they didn't go to the Gang of Eight, but they went to the Gang of Exxon and all the other oil companies. They ran this by the oil executives, but not Congress.
What the flippity flop, Ron?
Yeah.
This, it's wild too. I have consumed a ton of media in my life. In addition, we all do nowadays. Nowadays, we all scroll. But before that, I watched a lot of movies. I watched TV shows, and I don't watch as much of that anymore. But in my lifetime, I have watched a lot of that. And it's so funny that plots of maybe even iconic movies, or plots of just decent or good movies, of so many kind of blockbusters or just casual watches, don't freaking apply anymore. Like, when I see a movie about a heist, I don't care. Good for them. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, when you see a political thriller, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. The real world is so much crazier than what could happen in a Hollywood film on a political thriller.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how it killed the ideas to me. Like, it doesn't. So, like, I used to love Madam Secretary. That's such a great show. You ever see that show, Madam Secretary?
I used to watch it.
All seasons on Netflix, I think. But
no, it's a CBS, so it's Paramount Plus now, buddy.
No, but maybe now. Yeah. But I mean, it was on CBS, but they, all seasons were on Netflix because they had different deals, Mm-hmm. But maybe nowadays it was all just there. But yeah. Anyway, it's just a lot of those plot lines. I mean, they're not even it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
But none of that matters.
But that's the other thing. Like, I feel like this presidency, and we know that this guy loves TV production. He's all about TV. Yeah. We know that he said something about like wanting each day of his presidency to be like a TV show. But like, can we not like script this out so that every day is a jaw-dropping, whodunit or cliffhanger or how's this like I think I said this earlier this week to someone else. I'm like, I think back nostalgically to us worrying about a Chinese spy balloon just floating over the country, peacefully, just meandering on by.
That was the one. He had something floating around. Golly, man.
Yeah, I just think back nostalgically to that. And now, it's like every day we wake up, before you even open the phone, you're like, okay, what's it going to be today?
You could do that. You could just maybe I'll do this to you this week. I'll just text you and be like, man, did you see that we blew up the moon? And you're like, what? And you're like,
right. Yeah, it
your
wouldn't
first
stun me.
response wouldn't be like, that's crazy. That would never happen. Your first response would be like, oh, wow, we did that. I can't believe we did that. It wouldn't be, I can't believe it happened. It'd be like, oh, this is where we are now.
Well, sure, because, who in our lifetimes would have thought we're serious about taking Greenland, or we're serious about offering money to Greenland. We can't afford health care for all, but we can afford to buy Greenland for 50,000 people and some military bases.
Yeah. Also, I don't understand, how no conservative that supports MAGA has any right to talk about fiscal responsibility.
Ever.
Because that is the epitome of the opposite of that. Oh my gosh, this guy, it's Ron. Where is the talking point? It's just buried. It's like trying to find talking points is kind of like looking at a hoarder's house, because everything's on top of everything. It's all kind of mushed together, and you're looking through. You're like, I do got that fork somewhere. I know I got 20 forks. Like, yeah, they don't help this now. It's just a chaotic mess, Ron. This is ugly looking.
Hey, man, the good news is we've got 1 year under our belt and only 3 more to overcome. And maybe we can make the last 2 of those more bearable with a better outcome in November 2026.
I mean, will it matter? Will we get to November 2026? Will there be free and fair elections in 2026 November?
Well, I guess if we can take in the 50,000 liberals that live in Greenland, and we can take in the tens of millions of liberals that live in Canada, the 51st state, and I don't know how Venezuela is going to shake out, but that's far enough away from me that I don't really care. But I feel like we're going to have a net gain of some liberals with all these places that we're annexing. So, maybe things will look better for us in 2026 just by taking in all these liberal countries.
That is a way to look at it. Maybe so. Maybe. You know what? Maybe I win the lottery, Ron. Maybe I'll.
Oh, my God. Somebody won the lottery in Noonan, Georgia, just miles from where I live. Like, we're talking just slightly under $1 billion. And I'm like, why didn't I go buy a ticket?
Noonan, Georgia. I bought a couple when they got big. You know what's funny about that? Like, Ron, I don't buy lottery tickets, but when they get up close to $1 billion, I'm like, let me buy a lottery ticket. Yeah. As if when it starts at 20 million, I'm like, oh no, I'm good. I don't care about that 20 million.
Yeah, but when it gets to 800 million or better, well, and when the odds are worse, by the way.
Yeah. Let me go buy one now. Listen, what is that mentality, man?
God, I would be happy if I won $1 million jack. Just $1 million would change my life. But and by the way, my life would be somewhere else. Like I'm at this point, I'm thinking like Costa Rica if I can afford it. But until then, I'm going to stay here and fight the good fight because I can't afford to leave.
Ron, I appreciate you being too broke to fight elsewhere, too broke to enjoy. Thank you for fighting the good fight here.
And speaking of sticking around in the good fight, you can find Sterling and his bookings. And if you want to book him for private gigs or something like that for your organization or your business, for the funnies, for the games and whatnot, you can hit him up at sterlingthrill.com.
Yay, that's it, Ron Roberts. Thank you very much, friend. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, I appreciate your time. We'll catch up next week, buddy.
Yeah, man, we'll catch up next week. Let's pray we have a better week.
Well, let's just pray. Yeah, a better week and maybe funnier things to talk about. Although I think we did pretty good finding a few funnies after.
We found a couple in there because, golly.
It just took 37 minutes, but no, we're good with that. All right, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Talk to you later, bro. Have a good weekend.
You do the same. All right, final 6 minutes or so of today's Ron Show. I teased at the start of the top of the show today that I was going to say something positive about something Donald Trump wants to do. Well, what Donald Trump wants to do was actually introduced into legislation when Democrats introduced this under Joe Biden, but couldn't get it past the House and Senate. And what Kamala Harris actually ran on as president in 2024. But that's okay that Donald Trump finally now realizes this needs to happen. And he's right. He's right. Trevor Honeycutt reporting from Reuters yesterday that Trump on Wednesday. Have I held on to this that long? Sorry, I held on to this that long. My apologies. Donald Trump said his administration is moving to ban Wall Street from investing in single-family homes in a bid to reduce home prices, a potential blow for private equity landlords that also pressured home builder shares. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said he was taking immediate action and would ask Congress to codify the measure, adding he would also be discussing additional housing and affordability proposals in a speech at the Davos World Economic Forum. For a very long time, buying and owning a home was considered the pinnacle of the American dream. Adding in this Truth Social post that inflation had put the dream out of reach for many Americans. It's not just inflation. People live in homes, not corporations, he said. More from Reuters. Wall Street institutions such as Blackstone have bought thousands of single-family homes since the financial crisis of 2008, led to a wave of home foreclosures. They are increasingly putting cash into rental homes, which have fared better than other commercial property sectors, such as office and retail. Through a period of soaring borrowing costs and changing working patterns, Wall Street's expansion into home ownership has attracted criticism from housing advocacy groups and lawmakers, including Democrats. Well, thank you, Mr. Honeycutt. I mean, they've been leading the way on this, who say institutional landlords have reduced housing supply and stoked rent inflation. That is absolutely true. I've been talking about this on my show for years. If you're new to the Ron Show, that's fine. I'm a realtor. I'm a real estate agent. I have been here in Metro Atlanta since 2019. I have seen this all happen firsthand in one of America's largest real estate markets. Here's the thing, though, and this is where you will watch for the waffle, and hopefully it doesn't come. Donald Trump watches Wall Street, and Wall Street responded. So home builder shares dropped sharply after his comments. The housing acquisition company American Homes 4, the number 4 rent, dropped to a near 3-year low of 28.84. Halted for volatility before trading resumed. Blackstone shares dropped to a low of 147.52. That's still a lot of money for a share. And then there's the legal authority. Does he have legal authority to do this? No, not without Congress's help. But you would think Democrats, this is another one of those moments where you're like, yes, no, we readily agree with the president on this. Just do it. Just do it. Honeycutt writes, it was not immediately clear what legal authority Trump would draw upon to impose such a ban on the private market purchases of houses. Trump did not detail the policy. Well, details. I'm sure there's concepts of a plan. The form it would take or the legal changes he was seeking from Congress, which he would need. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment, probably because he didn't run it past them before hitting Truth Social. One of his other ideas that wasn't so bright when it comes to the housing market, remember the 50-year mortgage canard? Well, that was dumb. The federal housing director said the president is reviewing between 30 and 50 ideas to bring down housing costs, but that the 50-year mortgage wasn't going to be one of them. Bill Pulte on Friday signaled that the Trump administration is moving past his widely criticized idea for a 50-year mortgage in its broader effort to address housing affordability, saying, I think we have other priorities. Yeah, like something that people wouldn't laugh at immediately or go, who lives in a house for 50 years anymore? I mean, it's a 5 to 7 year cycle for most people to live in one house anyway. But the average age of a first-time home buyer right now is 40 years of age. That's startling. Even if it were in the low 30s, say we're 32. I think that's a little old as well to be buying your first-time home, if you ask me. But then again, I'm a realtor. What do I know? A 50-year mortgage means you're paying on the mortgage until you're 82. But I thought you were going to retire at 65 with the house already paid. See why this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever? You don't want to bequeath your mortgage to your kids who's not even in the house anymore because they've moved on and they've got kids or maybe they have grandkids. Yeah, the 50-year mortgage was a dumb idea from the jump. Oops, incidentally, let me make sure I'm giving credit. I'm reading from reporting in Politico from Cassandra Dumais and Iris Sentner. Pulte's comment indicates that the proposal for 50-year mortgages, which was panned by officials in the White House as well as industry experts, will not be among the actions in Trump's order. An executive order that he plans on drafting targeting affordability issues that are high on voters' minds heading into a midterm election year. I would say unless you're dealing with raising the wage and lowering the cost of consumer goods and health insurance, which the House, Democrat-led on that initiative, House worked on dealing with ACA subsidies. Oh, and student loan debt forgiveness. I mean, all these ways that you could have dealt with affordability and kept things affordable or not eating into household budgets. Republicans are going the exact opposite direction of where the president wants to go. So it'll be interesting to see what he seeks to do with that executive order and what teeth it has. All right. My thanks to Sterling Thrill for joining the show today and you for listening to all of it. Show notes, as always, at ronshowatl.com. We are 4 to 6 p.m. weekdays on Georgia Now, 11 p.m. Progressive Voices via TuneIn. The replay 8 to 10 a.m. the following morning on Georgia Now. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.